The sorrow of a mother, watching her child endure unimaginable hardships, is a pain that words can scarcely capture. Each moment she thinks of her eldest daughter, Lona, feels like a dagger piercing her heart. From the day she made the impossible decision to send Lona away to work in a far-off household, the weight of sadness settled in her chest, refusing to lift. Though the family's financial struggles left her with no other choice, the guilt of that decision haunted her daily. She could not help but wonder if she had failed her child, if there was some other way she could have protected her from the world's cruelties. This sorrow grew into an ache that lingered with every passing day without Lona by her side. The rare visits from Lona, though precious, only deepened the mother's despair. Her once vibrant and joyful daughter returned home looking fragile and withdrawn, her eyes tired and her spirit dimmed. Lona would insist she was fine, brushing off her mother's concerns, but a mother's heart knows when something is wrong. The sight of her daughter growing thinner and weaker tore at her soul, filling her with a helpless sadness that was impossible to ignore. She yearned to bring Lona back home, to shield her from the unknown hardships she was facing, but the grim reality of their poverty kept that dream out of reach. This feeling of powerlessness, of knowing that her child was suffering but being unable to change it, was a sorrow so deep it left her restless and sleepless. Adding to her anguish was the relentless struggle to care for her other children in a household where she was treated as an outsider. Her mother-in-law's disdain weighed heavily on her, with harsh words and dismissive gestures reinforcing her sense of inadequacy. Her children, too, bore the brunt of their poverty, their constant hunger a painful reminder of her inability to provide for them. The suggestion from a relative to give her children sleeping pills to quiet their hunger left her devastated, as if her worth as a mother had been reduced to silencing their cries rather than easing their pain. These moments made her feel trapped, buried under the weight of responsibilities and sorrow, with no escape in sight. When Lona finally returned home, and the truth of her condition was revealed, the mother's sadness reached a breaking point. To learn that her child had been abused while under someone else's care was a pain beyond words. She grieved not only for Lona's stolen innocence but also for the trust that had been shattered and the helplessness that had left her daughter vulnerable. The societal judgment that loomed over them, the fear of being blamed, and the knowledge that they were powerless against the wealthy family who had wronged them deepened her despair. This was no ordinary sadness. It was the profound grief of a mother mourning what her daughter had endured, mourning the cruelty of the world, and mourning her own inability to shield Lona from harm. Through it all, her love for Lona remained unshaken, a light that kept her moving forward even in the darkest moments of her life. The days following Lona's return were filled with a mixture of relief and unbearable sorrow. Her presence at home should have brought comfort, but the frail, quiet girl who had once been so full of life was a painful reminder of all that had gone wrong. Her mother tried to mask her tears, focusing instead on tending to Lona with gentle care, but the overwhelming grief was hard to hide. Every time Lona winced in pain or sat silently staring at nothing, her mother's heart broke a little more. The guilt weighed heavily on her. She replayed the moments when she agreed to send Lona away, convincing herself it was for the family's survival. Now, seeing the consequences, she could no longer forgive herself. Despite her daughter's reassurances that she was fine, the mother knew the truth. Lona had changed. Her once bright eyes were now shadowed by fear, and her laughter, which used to fill the house, was replaced by a haunting silence. Lona flinched at sudden noises and hesitated to share her thoughts, as if weighed down by secrets she wasn't ready to reveal. Her mother, desperate to help, tried to coax her into opening up. She asked about the household where Lona had worked, gently probing for details. Slowly, the truth began to unravel. Lona admitted she had been made to do more than just care for children. She had cooked, cleaned, and labored until her small body ached. The food they promised her had often been withheld, and she was left to sleep on a cold floor at night. Worst of all were the moments she described as terrifying, but could not put into words, her voice trembling as she avoided her mother's gaze. Each word felt like a knife, cutting deeper into her mother's soul. The realization that her daughter had suffered in silence while they believed she was safe filled the room with a heavy, unspoken grief. Her mother wanted to scream, to curse the people who had hurt Lona, but she swallowed her rage, focusing instead on holding her daughter close, trying to rebuild the trust that hardship had strained. In the midst of this emotional storm, the family's struggles only grew heavier. They barely had enough food to eat, and Lona's health was deteriorating rapidly. Her mother knew they needed help but was painfully aware of how little they had. The decision to take Lona to a doctor was not made lightly. It required borrowing money, enduring humiliation from neighbors and relatives who judged them harshly. But the mother's desperation outweighed her pride. No amount of shame could compare to her need to save her daughter. When the doctor revealed the shocking news that Lona was pregnant, time seemed to freeze. The weight of those words crashed over her mother like a tidal wave. Her knees felt weak, and her mind struggled to grasp the enormity of what had been said. Lona, her little girl, was now carrying the children of the man who had wronged her. Anguish, anger, and helplessness overwhelmed her, but at the core of it all was a deep, unshakable love for her daughter. No matter what lay ahead, she vowed to stand by Lona, to shield her from further harm, and to fight for her, even if the world turned against them. In that moment, amidst the storm of emotions, the mother's sorrow transformed into an unyielding resolve. She would do whatever it took to protect her child. The days after Lona's harrowing confession were filled with turmoil. Her mother, a once resilient woman who had faced poverty and oppression with quiet endurance, now found herself grappling with a storm of conflicting emotions. On one hand, there was the overwhelming love and compassion she felt for her daughter, a need to protect Lona and shield her from the cruel world. On the other, there was a growing fury that demanded justice for what had been done to her. But how could they fight back? They were poor, vulnerable, and powerless against the influential family who had harmed Lona. This internal conflict began to consume her, threatening to tear the family apart. The first rift emerged when her husband, normally a quiet and passive man, took a firm stand against the idea of confronting Lona's abusers. "We can't do this," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "They're too powerful. If we make noise, they'll crush us. Do you want our other children to suffer because of this?" His words, though practical, ignited a fire in his wife. "And what about Lona?" she shot back, her voice trembling with anger. "Are we supposed to stay silent while they walk free, after everything they've done to her?" Their arguments became a daily occurrence, each one more heated than the last. Their children, too young to fully understand what was happening, watched in confusion and fear as their parents clashed. Lona, the unwilling center of this storm, withdrew further into herself. She spent her days in silence, her once bright spirit now dulled by shame and guilt. "Mom, please stop fighting," she whispered one night, tears streaming down her face. "It's my fault. If I hadn't gone, none of this would have happened." Her mother's heart broke at those words, and she held Lona tightly, vowing silently to find a way to heal her daughter's wounds. The conflict extended beyond their home. News of Lona's condition began to spread through their small village, fueled by whispers and speculation. The judgment from their neighbors was harsh and unrelenting. Some pitied them, while others outright blamed Lona for what had happened. "She must have done something to deserve it," one woman sneered during a visit to their home, her words laced with cruelty. The mother's hands trembled with suppressed rage as she bit back her retort, knowing that no defense would change their minds. It was in moments like these that her faith began to falter. She had always believed in a just and merciful Allah, but now she found herself questioning that belief. Why had Allah allowed this to happen? Why had He let her daughter suffer so much? As the days turned into weeks, the weight of their circumstances began to crush her spirit. She spent her nights crying out to Allah, her prayers a mixture of anger, despair, and pleading. Why, Allah? Why did you let this happen? Haven't we suffered enough? But even in her darkest moments, a small part of her clung to the hope that there was a greater purpose behind their pain, that somehow, they would find a way through this nightmare. It was during one of these sleepless nights that she found herself sitting beside Lona, who had fallen into a restless sleep. Her daughter's face, once so full of life, was now etched with the scars of her trauma. As she watched Lona, a thought began to take root in her mind. Perhaps this trial was a test, not a punishment, but a chance to prove her faith and her love for her family. The thought was faint at first, like a flickering candle in a dark room, but it grew stronger with each passing moment. She began to see her pain not as a curse, but as a cross she was meant to bear. The turning point came one morning when the local imam visited their home. He had heard of their plight and came not to judge, but to offer words of comfort and guidance. "Sister," he said gently, "I know your heart is heavy, and your faith is shaken. But remember, Allah tests those He loves most. He sees your pain, and He will not abandon you. Trust in His plan, even when it seems impossible to understand." His words, though simple, resonated deeply within her. For the first time in weeks, she felt a glimmer of peace. She began to pray with renewed fervor, seeking not only strength but also clarity. Her prayers shifted from desperate pleas for vengeance to humble requests for guidance. "Show me the way, Allah," she whispered one night. "Help me heal my family and protect my children. I place my trust in you." Slowly but surely, her heart began to lighten. She realized that seeking justice did not mean seeking revenge. Instead, it meant finding a way to protect her family's dignity while also ensuring that Lona's abusers could no longer harm anyone else. Her newfound faith became a source of strength for her family. She and her husband began to mend their fractured relationship, finding solace in each other's support. Together, they decided to seek legal assistance, despite the risks involved. They contacted a lawyer in a nearby city, someone who had a reputation for helping the poor and oppressed. Though the journey was fraught with challenges, their determination never wavered. Meanwhile, the family's relationship with their neighbors began to change. The imam, moved by their story, rallied the community to support them. Slowly, the whispers of judgment were replaced by gestures of kindness. Neighbors brought food and offered words of encouragement, helping the family feel less isolated. The mother, now bolstered by her faith and the support of her community, began to see a path forward. As the weeks turned into months, Lona began to heal, both physically and emotionally. Her mother's unwavering love and faith played a crucial role in her recovery. The family, once shattered by sorrow and conflict, found a renewed sense of unity and purpose. Through their trials, they discovered the strength of their faith and the power of forgiveness. While they could never erase what had happened, they found solace in knowing that they had faced their struggles with courage and integrity. And in the end, it was their faith that guided them through the darkest moments, reminding them that even in the midst of despair, hope and healing were always possible. The journey toward faith often emerges from the darkest valleys, where the weight of despair forces a soul to look upward, seeking solace beyond human understanding. For Lona's family, that valley had stretched endlessly, days and nights filled with fear, sorrow, and uncertainty. Yet, in the depths of their suffering, a glimmer of light began to guide them, as if Allah's presence was quietly calling them toward hope and healing. It began with small but profound moments, where the mother's prayers, once desperate cries for vengeance, transformed into whispers of surrender. She no longer asked for her enemies to be destroyed, instead, she asked for the strength to carry her family through their trials. Ya Allah, she prayed one night, her hands trembling as she raised them, I am weak, but you are strong. I cannot fight this battle alone. Guide me, for I place my trust in you. That prayer marked the start of her spiritual awakening, a shift from questioning Allah's will to seeking refuge in His mercy. As the family tried to piece their lives back together, they were met with unexpected blessings. A local mosque, moved by their plight, began to offer them support. The imam, who had visited their home, shared a powerful reminder during Friday prayers: Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. When we face trials, it is an opportunity to draw closer to Him, to rely on His wisdom, and to trust that He has a plan for us. The words resonated deeply with the mother, planting seeds of hope in her heart. She began to believe that their suffering had a purpose, even if she couldn't yet understand it. One afternoon, as the mother sat beside Lona, she noticed her daughter flipping through a small Quran that the Imam had given her. Lona's fragile hands ran over the pages, her lips moving silently as she read. Mom, she said softly, breaking the silence, I read today that Allah is the most merciful. Do you think He still loves me, after everything that's happened? Her mother's heart clenched at the question, but she answered with unwavering conviction. Of course, He loves you, my child. Allah's mercy is greater than any sin, any pain. He knows your heart, and He knows your struggles. Turn to Him, and you will find peace. That moment marked a turning point for Lona. Slowly, she began to find comfort in her faith. She started attending the mosque's women's gatherings, where she listened to stories of resilience and redemption from other women who had faced their own hardships. One woman shared how she had lost her husband and children in an accident but found the strength to keep going by placing her trust in Allah. Another spoke of surviving an abusive marriage and rebuilding her life through faith. These stories inspired Lona, showing her that pain was not the end, it could be the beginning of something greater. Meanwhile, the mother and father found themselves leaning more heavily on their faith as well. The father, once hesitant to confront their problems, began attending prayers at the mosque more regularly. He found solace in the company of other men who shared their struggles, and the imam's guidance gave him a newfound sense of purpose. He realized that protecting his family required not only physical strength but also spiritual resilience. Together with his wife, he began to recite daily du'as, asking Allah for guidance and forgiveness. The family's growing faith was tested, however, when they received a shocking piece of news. A distant relative informed them that the man who had harmed Lona was using his wealth and influence to spread lies about their family, claiming that Lona had willingly engaged in a relationship with him. The slander threatened to destroy the fragile peace they were beginning to rebuild. The mother's first instinct was to retaliate, to defend her daughter's honor with all the fury in her heart. But as she knelt to pray that night, a sense of calm washed over her. She remembered the Imam's words, Allah is the ultimate judge. Place your trust in Him, and He will deliver justice. The next morning, instead of reacting with anger, the mother made a decision that surprised even her. She visited the mosque and requested the Imam's help in organizing a meeting with community elders. At the meeting, she spoke with humility and grace, recounting her family's struggles without bitterness. We are not here to seek revenge, she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. We only ask for the truth to be known and for our daughter's honor to be protected. Allah is our witness, and we leave the rest in His hands. Her words moved the elders, many of whom had previously judged the family harshly. One by one, they began to offer their support, promising to confront the lies being spread and to stand by the family in their quest for justice. This act of trust in Allah, coupled with their willingness to forgive, began to shift the tide in their favor. The community, once divided, started to rally around them, offering help and encouragement. As the weeks passed, the family's faith grew stronger. Lona, now more confident and at peace, began volunteering at the mosque, helping to teach younger children about the Quran. Her mother watched with pride as Lona's smile returned, a testament to her resilience and the healing power of faith. The father, too, found renewed purpose, securing a job through one of the mosque's programs and working tirelessly to provide for his family. The ultimate moment of faith came when the family received news that the man who had wronged Lona had faced his own downfall. His lies and corruption had caught up with him, leading to his public disgrace and financial ruin. While the mother felt a sense of vindication, she also felt a deep sense of humility. "It was not our doing," she told her husband that evening. "It was Allah's justice. He sees everything, and He never forgets His servants." In the quiet of their rebuilt home, the family gathered for prayer, their hearts full of gratitude. They had faced unimaginable trials, but their faith had carried them through. The mother, once consumed by sorrow, now found peace in knowing that their suffering had brought them closer to Allah. "Our journey isn't over," she said, her voice steady and full of hope. "But with Allah's guidance, we will face whatever comes next." Their story became a testament to the power of faith, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, Allah's mercy and justice shine through. Through prayer, resilience, and trust in Him, they found not only healing but also a renewed sense of purpose. And as they knelt together in prayer, they knew they were not alone, for Allah was always with them, guiding their steps toward a brighter future. The family's journey, though marked by unimaginable trials, ultimately became a testament to the transformative power of faith in Allah. In their darkest moments, when despair threatened to consume them, they found strength in turning toward Him. Through prayer, patience, and unwavering trust, they discovered that Allah's wisdom often unfolds in ways beyond human understanding. Their suffering, while deeply painful, was not without purpose. It became the bridge that brought them closer to their Creator and to one another. Lona's story, once a source of shame and sorrow, became a symbol of resilience and redemption. Her transformation, from a girl burdened by trauma to a young woman rooted in faith, was a reminder of Allah's infinite mercy. She found healing not only through her family's love but also in the words of the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Her newfound confidence and devotion to Allah inspired those around her, showing that no matter how deep the scars, faith could restore what was broken. The mother, too, found solace in her growing connection with Allah. Her prayers, once filled with tears of despair, became moments of gratitude and hope. She learned to place her trust in His divine plan, knowing that He would never abandon His servants. The community's support and the downfall of Lona's abuser were powerful affirmations of divine justice. These events reinforced her belief that Allah is always watching, that He hears the cries of the oppressed, and that His justice, though sometimes delayed, is always perfect. As the family knelt together in prayer one evening, the mother looked at her children, her heart full of gratitude. She whispered a silent dua, thanking Allah for the strength to endure their hardships and for the blessings that followed. Their home, once filled with sorrow, now radiated peace. They had learned that faith was not just a means of enduring pain but a path to finding meaning and purpose in it. The family's story is a reminder to all that Allah's mercy is boundless, His justice unwavering, and His love infinite. Through faith, they found light in the darkest of times, and through trust in Allah, they rebuilt their lives with hope and resilience. Their journey stands as a powerful testament: with Allah, no burden is too heavy, and no wound is beyond healing. The story of Lona and her family serves as a powerful reminder of resilience, faith, and the importance of seeking justice, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. In today's world, where challenges like poverty, exploitation, and societal judgment still persist, the lessons from their journey can inspire us to navigate our struggles with strength and unwavering trust in Allah. Their experiences highlight the need for compassion, community support, and the courage to stand up for what is right, even when the odds seem insurmountable. One of the key takeaways from this story is the importance of family unity during difficult times. Despite their hardships, Lona's family stood together, drawing strength from their love and commitment to one another. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to let external pressures strain family relationships. However, as Lona's story shows, families that support each other can weather even the toughest storms. Make time to nurture your relationships, communicate openly, and offer emotional support to loved ones. A strong family foundation can be a source of hope and stability in challenging moments. Another vital lesson is the role of faith in overcoming hardship. When faced with despair, Lona's mother turned to Allah, seeking guidance and strength. Her prayers and trust in His plan gave her the clarity and resilience needed to protect her family and rebuild their lives. In modern life, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by difficulties and lose sight of spiritual grounding. However, turning to Allah through prayer, reflection, and the teachings of the Quran can provide comfort and perspective. Remember that Allah's wisdom is infinite, and trials often come with lessons that shape us for the better. The story also underscores the importance of community. The family's transformation became possible in part because of the support they received from their local mosque and neighbors. In today's world, it's crucial to foster strong community ties, especially in times of need. Offer help to those who are struggling, and don't hesitate to seek assistance when you need it. Being part of a compassionate and supportive community not only strengthens individuals but also creates an environment where everyone can thrive. Lastly, Lona's experience serves as a call to action to protect the vulnerable, particularly children and women, from exploitation. Her story reminds us of the importance of ensuring safety, dignity, and justice for all, regardless of their circumstances. In your own life, advocate for those who cannot speak for themselves, support organizations that fight for justice, and educate others about the importance of safeguarding vulnerable individuals. Incorporating these lessons into our daily lives can help us navigate modern challenges with resilience, faith, and a sense of purpose. Like Lona's family, we too can find light in the darkest moments by leaning on Allah, supporting one another, and striving for justice and compassion in all that we do. The story of Lona and her family resonates deeply with the challenges many of us face in life, reminding us that even in moments of despair, Allah's mercy and guidance are ever present. In my own life, I have encountered trials that left me feeling overwhelmed and questioning my ability to endure. Like Lona's mother, I've experienced moments of helplessness where the weight of responsibility, societal expectations, and my own limitations seemed too much to bear. Yet, the story offers a powerful reminder that Allah does not burden a soul beyond its capacity. Surah Al-Baqarah, 2:286. This knowledge inspires me to approach my hardships with patience and trust, knowing that every trial comes with an opportunity for growth and nearness to Allah. One of the most striking lessons from the story is the mother's unwavering love and sacrifice, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Her relentless efforts to protect Lona, despite societal judgment and financial constraints, reflect the strength that comes from maternal love and reliance on Allah. This reminds me of the importance of selflessness and prioritizing the well-being of my family, even when circumstances seem bleak. It also encourages me to seek strength through prayer and faith, just as the mother turned to Allah for guidance and found solace in her connection with Him. When faced with decisions that test my resolve, I am reminded that seeking Allah's wisdom through prayer, dua, is not just an act of worship but a lifeline that connects me to the source of all strength. The story also highlights the significance of community support and how compassion from others can bring light to even the darkest situations. In my life, I've seen how meaningful it is to both give and receive help during difficult times. Whether it's lending a listening ear, offering assistance, or simply showing empathy, these acts of kindness can transform lives. The support Lona's family received from their mosque and neighbors serves as a reminder to cultivate a sense of community and solidarity in my own life. When I see someone in need, I am encouraged to extend a helping hand, remembering the hadith, "The believer is to the believer like a solid building, one part supporting the other," Sahih Bukhari in Muslim. Conversely, I also strive to humbly accept help when I need it, understanding that Allah often sends His assistance through the hands of others. Another profound lesson from the story is the importance of perseverance and hope in the face of injustice. Lona's mother's decision to seek justice for her daughter, despite the power and influence of her abuser, is a testament to the strength that comes from relying on Allah. Her journey teaches me that standing up for what is right, even when it feels impossible, is a form of worship. In my own life, there have been moments when I hesitated to confront wrongdoing out of fear of the consequences. This story reminds me that Allah is the ultimate judge and helper, and trusting Him can give me the courage to face challenges head-on. The Quran says, "Indeed, Allah is with those who fear Him and those who are doers of good," Surah An-Nahl, 16:128, reinforcing the idea that righteousness is always rewarded. The transformation of Lona's family through faith also serves as a reminder of the healing power of trusting in Allah's plan. The mother's journey from despair to spiritual renewal demonstrates that even in the darkest moments, faith can provide a way forward. This encourages me to maintain my prayers and strengthen my relationship with Allah, especially during times of hardship. I am reminded that trials are not punishments but opportunities to purify my heart and grow closer to my Creator. The story inspires me to practice gratitude, even for small blessings, and to find meaning in my struggles by viewing them as part of Allah's greater plan. Finally, Lona's story reminds me to approach life with humility and compassion. Her experience of judgment and societal pressure mirrors the challenges many face in a world quick to condemn rather than support. This serves as a call to action in my own life to be more understanding and empathetic toward others. Instead of passing judgment, I am reminded to offer support and encouragement, knowing that everyone is fighting battles we cannot see. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Allah will continue to help His servant as long as he helps his brother," Sahih Muslim, motivating me to embody this principle in my interactions with others. To apply these lessons, I will strive to strengthen my faith by turning to Allah in every circumstance, whether in moments of joy or hardship. I will work to build a strong foundation of love and support within my family, ensuring that we face challenges together rather than in isolation. I will cultivate a sense of community, offering kindness and compassion to those in need while seeking help when necessary. Lastly, I will confront injustice with courage and trust in Allah, knowing that He is always watching and His justice is perfect. These actions, inspired by the story of Lona and her family, will guide me toward a life rooted in faith, resilience, and hope in Allah's mercy.
Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please comment below the video. Please subscribe to the channel to support us.